Contests have always been my biggest inspiration in Toastmasters. I enjoy speaking, I enjoy viewing the contests as well. Today, we have somebody with us who has won in the district not one, not two, all the three contest formats of District 92. Welcoming on Baatcheet the Arundhati Basu. Thank you, Arundhati, for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on Pachu.
Arundhati, while most people struggle to master a single format of the speech contest, you won in all three. So, what was your first reaction when you heard the results?
It's a very strange feeling because when I won, it was a very surreal feeling to have won all three. But my initial reaction was I won the contest and it was okay. I got back with daily life. It only synced in when, like, a couple of hours after the results, a lot of people from the fraternity, my club members, everybody started calling and saying, "What have you done? It's such a big deal. You won three contests. It's at the district." That's when it really started sinking in that I've actually won the contests at the district level. It's a big deal. It was my first year, so it was a lot more for me to sink in. But I think that's the best part about this fraternity. Some things that you can brush off on a regular basis saying, yeah, that's okay, I have done that. This is a fraternity that makes you feel you've not just done that, you've done a big deal. So it was really nice.
And while the results were being announced, was there a specific contest that you were hoping to win a little more than the other two?
I think I felt passionately for all the three contests, but just like every other contestant, ISC is closer to your heart because the other two are more like what you've been able to do on that day, on that spot, the best foot you can put forward. But ISC is something that you've prepared for, you know the effort you've put in. So that's a contest you would hope that, I hoped at least that I won a little more for, firstly, because I prepared, and when you prepare, there is, even if you say I don't care about the results, you're there to win. Everybody goes into a contest to win, so there's a hope. And also because I think my ISC overall number of contestants, they were all so good. So if you knew you cracked that, you thought you stood a chance among some of the stalwarts in the fraternities.
Of course you did, Arundhati, and I still remember your 1000, 2000. But speaking of preparation, where did it start? Did you join Toastmasters for contests, or is it something that was introduced to you later? What was all that about?
Yeah, I joined Toastmasters by sheer coincidence. I'm that 20th member that a club needs to qualify for the distinguished program. So that's how I joined Toastmasters, with no intention at all. One fine day, my manager back then, who was also the president of the club, said, "Oh, we need one more member. Do you think you want to give Toastmasters a go?" And I said, "Okay." And I actually did nothing much in my initial bid because I didn't know what I signed up for. But the reason contest happened, and that's why my contest run is so special to my heart, is because as a club, we started struggling a little when the mode changed to virtual. And we knew we had to do a lot more to really put the image of Toastmasters as a very strong image in our corporate. So we started working on a lot of other dynamics that you have, awards that a club could win, but we knew if we cracked contest, that would seal our deal. So I was actually not planning to contest. I'm somebody who enjoys behind the scenes a lot, and I was new, so I thought I'd help out in the contesting process. But there were some club members who were senior who said, "Aru, I think you should give this a go, because if we crack it, then nothing like it, and we trust that you can crack it." So the motivation for me throughout my contest journey to win, obviously, because like I always say, you never go into a contest saying, "Oh, we'll see what the results is." If you've gone in, you've gone there to win. That's always there. But for me, the bigger motivation really was my club was rooting for me. They trusted me. So we knew that my club always kind of made it till area division before that. But we knew if we could really get to the district, then this will seal the fate of Toastmasters in our organization. That was a very big motive for us. We really wanted to put Toastmaster on that pedestal. And thankfully, that's where it started. Once I was in, I didn't know what I've signed up for. But then as the stages started increasing, I realized that This is such a huge deal, and like you said in the very beginning, I think the reason contest is a lot of our favorite is because contest so much fun. There's so much that goes into it. You see people putting in so much effort, and that's a lot of driving force for you to say this is not a easy deal. I'm going to put in my best shot.
Arundhati, you just spoke about being a new Toastmaster and getting into the saga of contests. Was it your first year as a Toastmaster where you won everything in the district?
Yeah, that's right, and that's something I feel good about. It was my first year, first time ever contesting. I absolutely had no idea about contest till then, and I also don't have a prior background of contesting. I mean, school, college days, we've all done this. We've done contests in school, debates in colleges, but beyond that, I have actually never done a public speaking contest, especially evaluation and table topic. I didn't know what that meant till I became a Toastmaster. So definitely my first time.
So, if when you go there as a first timer and there are these stalwarts who've won that many times in the past, was there a halo effect that you experienced, or was there a pressure of outperforming them, or was there a constant sound in your voice that people are looking and people are judging?
Yes, so I think it's a mix of both that I experienced in my journey. So when I started at my club, it was pretty normal. It was a level playing field. I kind of realized what the format is and I got started. But when I won at the club and I went to the area, one thing that was to my advantage is that I was so new, I didn't know anybody. So even if some of them were stalwarts, I wasn't aware that they were stalwarts. So I was like just a fresher coming into a corporate who doesn't know whether somebody is a director or a CEO, right? So I started off at the area when the contest happened, and of course it happens over time, right? You've got your table topics and evaluation in the beginning, you've got ISC later. So for my table topics and evaluation, I went in and I just did my contest after I won at the area, and I fortunately overcame some of the individuals who were really good, and they were brilliant that day also, but I think it was just my day that day. That's when people started telling me, oh, you know, you defeated this one and that was good. Firstly, I don't think I ever felt like defeating anyone. I think one of us got the edge, and this fraternity has been very supportive that way. When I actually did my ISC, there was a lot of pressure because by then I had won the division in evaluation and table topics, and I had started understanding what contests mean, people who've contested over the years. I had seen some videos, some recordings. That's when I came into area, I kind of knew that the people I'm up against are really, really good. And being absolutely honest, I would never say that I walked in thinking, it's no big deal. I walked in thinking I am up against some of the really good people. I have got to put in that effort, and I must also admit, as much as some of my competitors were amazing, they were also a great source of motivation for me. So I knew that if I'm up against them, I better level up my game to at least match that respect I had for them, that I have to match their level. And in that run, I put in a lot of effort when it was my ISC. Thankfully, I got the better of that day and I made it through. So that was still my area where it was like a mixed bag. But divisions was a totally different ballgame, because when you win area, irrespective of how new you are, people know you. Some people know you. And especially when you've won multiple formats, then just like you said, you know people are watching you. And so there is pressure. I wouldn't say Toastmasters is not a fraternity that really judges you, but there are a lot of eyes on you, and people want to know that, okay, what is it that she did that she won the formats? So when I went into my division contest, firstly, I must admit, I am very lucky that the level of the competition was really good. So I don't think my division contest was one where I walked out thinking, oh, that was easy, I won. No, they were very good. I think some were people, even I felt, wow, that's brilliant. And then when I came into the division contest, some people were so good. I just knew one thing, and this is, I'll tell this to anybody who contests, that day you've gone there and you have to bring your best version. There is no second option on that. if you don't win a contest, you probably have to think that you didn't bring your best version. So a lot of other factors that you played, you've contested for long enough, Abhishekta, you'll know this, that there are a lot of factors we think about: judging, people, halo effect, like you said, some are stalwarts, but those are non-controllables, is what I say in my world. I can't fix it. I cannot take away the fact that somebody won contest multiple times, right? So I've got to park all those aside, and what I've got to do is bring my best version and then see what happens. So I think that's what I did. It was a lot more when I was at the district, because I did hear people saying, okay, Division C has the same lady performing in all formats. Is that just a chance coincidence, or what has she got to bring on the table? So there was a lot of pressure. I'm just glad it worked out.
So Arundhati, when somebody wins at all of these three templates and all of these three types of contests, how was the preparation for all three of them?
I think when I started off, I had witnessed a few of my club members contest in the previous year. But at the club level, it was very nascent. So we just understood the format, went through the judges' palette, the trainings, whatever material was available, and that's how my club journey started. But as I moved, I think area contest is when I realized that the gamut of this is way bigger. It will require a lot of preparation if I have to proceed. And I think it was at the area contest that it first hit me that you've really got to put in a lot of effort. It's not just what shows on the face. So once the area table topic, I think, is a very different format. You just got to be mentally prepared, have some stories in your back pocket, and just be ready to listen firstly properly when the topic's given, and then deliver with the clarity of thought. So that was an easier one to crack. Evaluation comes a little naturally to me because I'm from a corporate. You are used to giving and receiving feedback, right? So just implement it in the right structure and format. But ISC required a lot of work. So when the contest levels started becoming area and division is when I felt that I am up against some of the best. And the only way that you can be better than the best is to put in more effort. So that's when I started preparing, firstly by observing contests. I think that is something I'm very thankful to Toastmasters for, because the contests are open for anybody to come and witness those. So my biggest form of preparation was actually watching contests, seeing people who've done this several times over the years and seeing how they do it. So I think I picked up the best from whatever I watched. And thereafter I picked those and put those in my own way. The other thing that helped me as I was preparing for contest is to really never leave back your authenticity. I think that's something I've learned seeing contests now several years, right? After I contested also, I have followed contest over the years. I think sometimes people feel that this is what won last year, so probably this is the formula, and if I do this, this will help me win. But in my year, what really helped me is I was always me, irrespective of the level I was contesting at. So that holding on to your authenticity really helped. Apart from that, I think one more thing that Toastmaster very nicely teaches you, you can take that back to your life and corporate life, professional life, everywhere, is to be a little refined. You don't go on stage and just blabber. Make sense of what you are speaking. Finally, I would say, when I contested my entire tenure across 3 contests, I have always been very grateful of the fact that people have given you their 7 minutes or their 2 minutes or their 3 minutes, irrespective of the contest. And in a world so fast, when somebody is giving you time, you've got to respect that. So whatever I delivered from the stage, I always felt that it has to be more than me winning contest. I always wanted to win, no debate about that. But more than me winning contest, I think I wanted to ensure that there's some value add. Anybody who heard my speech had something to take back with them. Or the person I evaluated, it is not just a test speaker. I can make some difference to them also through my evaluation. So I've always been very respectful and grateful for all the time and everything that this fraternity has given me. So towards my division and district, I think it was also a little bit of paying back to the club that trusted me, to the fraternity that supported me. So all of that combined, really observing people who do it well, taking it back from them, putting in your effort in preparing, making sure you follow the rules properly, focus on your controllables, And when you go to that stage, respect that stage and make sure that you deliver what you're supposed to deliver.
Arundhati, now that we are speaking about preparation and practice, was there a set template that you followed, that every week one speech, two table topics, evaluation, or it was all natural?
I wouldn't say it was all natural. I definitely prepared. That to say that no, I walked in and I won would be absolutely dishonest. So I did prepare, but there wasn't a set template, at least in my case. Because firstly, I was very new to understand that how consistently you have to prepare. But after a certain stage, I was very clear of how much effort it takes. There are a lot of people who helped me understanding that I'm new. They put in their efforts to tell me this is something you can use, prepare this way.
You want to
okay,
name a
that
few of these important people who helped you through?
I think at my club, firstly, because my club, fortunately for us, has a great balance of tenured and new people. So the tenured ones know the struggle the new ones go through. So in the previous years, there have been people who've gone up to area and division who helped me. And I would also give it was everything was very new for me. This was at a stage when I would think that somebody like a district trio or somebody like a division director is absolutely unapproachable. They are big people. It's a little bit like how you feel as a fresher in a corporate. You don't feel like you would walk into your HR head and say, I have a problem. So I used to feel like these are not people who are approachable, but luckily for me, these are individuals who actually came forward on their own and said, no, it's okay, it's a Toastmaster contest, you can do it, these are some things that will help you. So that's also something that's helped me as I was preparing. So there wasn't really a set template. My work never did not really allow me to say at least I was not at that stage of Toastmasters where I would say I have a dedicated 2 hours to prepare for contests. So what I would do is I'd make the best of every situation. If I was attending a club meeting and I'm not the dedicated evaluator, I would still evaluate a speech. Or if there was a table topic round going on at any platform, I'd take the topic and not necessarily deliver, but I'd think in my head that had I got the topic, what would I say? Or just see random quotes around and think, if this was my topic, what would I say? ISC is something, that story, so my ISC, and of course this podcast probably a right place to reveal, the story that I spoke about in my ISC, which was my paratrooping journey, was really my way of paying back a very heartfelt tribute to my instructor whom we actually lost in that training. I felt the world needed to know how tough their life is and how life just moves on for them irrespective of what happens. So that story was very dear, very personal, and I did change it as the stages increased to mold it to the right set of audience. But the central theme, I always knew that was the story I wanted to say. I'm probably one of those contestants who did the same speech from club till district just by molding it around. So that's really how it worked.
So, Arundhati, during one of my early speech contest experiences, and this was pre COVID, I was very new to this entire thing, and I walked into a room where an area contest was happening, and I saw the contestants pace up and down outside, and all of these people with big experiences, and I was intimidated by this entire experience. How was it for you? Were you intimidated by the people around, or you had a cakewalk through the entire experience?
No, so it wasn't a cakewalk at any point in my contest run. It was intimidating in its own way, but I think it had perks of being intimidating. So just starting off with the speakers, I think throughout my contest season at different levels, everybody that I competed against really brought something very invaluable to the table. Some of them were very experienced, they've done contests several times, they had the experience, also the journey of going across the levels. They've been at district several times. Some were tenured Toastmasters, well-known names in the fraternity. So I think I would hear these things from different people who would tell me at different stages that, oh, in this contest you are up against this person and it's going to be tough. They know how to do this, or this person's already won division last year and they're really good. So all of that thought would also be there in my mind, and personally I am someone who's trusted the fact that I am at a place because I have done something worthwhile to be there. I've got something to put on the table, but at the same time, I would not be someone who would overlook or underestimate anybody I'm up against, because I've always felt that if somebody else has made it to that stage, they would be equally good. So I have always given a lot of importance to my competition, taken it seriously, and put in the effort. A lot of times it was very intimidating, and at the same time, the type of stories people brought about, because they would talk so flawlessly about personal incidents. Some would talk about life changing moments and narrate it beautifully. Even in table topics, some people would instantly come up with stories, acts. They would talk about grandparents and grandkids. So, those were things that made me feel that these people are really good. So I think how I went about it, and that's why I said there was a perk of being intimidated, is I respected the fact that these are individuals who have experience, who are really good, and I never really said that, oh, the contest was easy, I just made it. I always felt that everybody was good. Lot of commendations and lot of admiration for my fellow contestants, and that's always worked in my favor. So I would go into the room and take things seriously, give it my best shot, be equally appreciative of everybody else, and whatever results unfolded would take it gracefully. I think a part of it comes from the fact that I come from a sports background. You learn all of this when you've played a sports professionally, to respect everybody who's out there. And the other form where I felt very intimidated is also the type of support system that a lot of people had, because my club's been absolutely selfless in my journey. A lot of them have stood by me across all the contests, even though they were neither a role player nor a contestant. They were just there for me, which I'm very thankful for. But at the same time, there would be clubs who would have 20, 25 people, or there would be contestants who are very well-known figures in the fraternity. So the minute their name is announced, everybody
Oh
would
yes,
just cheer
starts
and
rooting,
hooting,
yes.
and it immediately makes you feel, oh my god, you are such a tiny dot against a huge ocean. So all of that was there, but at the same time, I would think in my head that it's okay, I am here to do what I am supposed to do, so I'm going to go ahead and still give it my best. I would say that the right way for it is, was I nervous? Was I intimidated? Yes, for all of that. At a lot of places in my contest journey, I would feel, my god, I'm so new. I don't know the tricks of the trade. What will happen if there's something that you are actually supposed to do that I'm not aware of? So, a lot of nervousness, a lot of intimidation was there, but there's also a lot of self belief and a lot of mental training that you hear and you can do it, and a huge respect for this fraternity, because at various different stages of my contest journey, I felt that as much as there are people who are coming with amazing experience and they are very good, this is a fraternity that does not, or to a great extent, have overcome the bias of telling, okay, this person is not as experienced, they don't stand a chance. They've given everybody a level playing field. If we see our contest rules, how it's contested, the eligibility criteria, it's same for everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, right? So I have huge respect for the Toastmaster fraternity, and I would say that as much as we want to believe somebody who's had that experience definitely has an upper hand, knows the tricks of the trade, it's a place where anybody can win. And I think my journey is one that did showcase that this is a fraternity that will appreciate you and give you your due share of recognition if you are good. I think that is something I've come to learn. I want to believe, and I have always felt very proud of being in this place.
So Arundhati, do you now, looking back, if you have to restart again, do you feel you are your greatest competition? Because now you've set a bar for yourself. And now if you go for an international speech contest this year, you have to do better than yourself. Or do you think that you'll repeat what it was already?
I would say we are our greatest competitors, not only in contest but every single day of life. If you can be a little better,
Profound.
better than what you were yesterday, there's no harm in it. But how I look at it, Abhishekta, if I ever have to contest again, I will think that it's not only doing better than what I have done, but it is from club level. I would consider that it is serious contest. I have got to bring my best foot forward. Everybody I'm up against is good. I've always believed that, irrespective of whether you won it before, you were a district champion or a division champion, it's in the past. The minute you start again, you start from scratch. Imagine a Roger Federer comes back to playing someday, nobody will tell him that your first round you don't have to play. He still needs to win first round to make it to the finals. So I consider every competition as really one I've got to put in effort for. So if I ever come back to contesting, I'll put in as much and maybe more effort than I've always done from level 1.
You spoke so profoundly and happily about your club members who were there to support you throughout your journey. And Toastmasters has introduced me to this beautiful concept of having a speech mentor while you are speaking. And I know there are 11 parts, and I have always had a consistent mentor to help me around. And then I took this humorous speech path where I thought I would need one more mentor, so I have two mentors now around me. You have conquered the three most important battles of contest. Do you have three mentors, or was it one mentor, or was it self mentored? How did that game play for you?
Yeah, I think the mentoring space has been very different for me in the contest perspective. Firstly, because I eventually came to understand how important a role a mentor plays, and thereafter, any session that I've ever done, I've always very sincerely told people that have a mentor, and most importantly, listen to that mentor. Because often at times it's our story, we've written it with all our heart. If somebody tells you that paragraph's not making sense, take that off, you would be so upset about it and you don't want to, and you automatically feel you don't know this paragraph so important, but they know. So in my case, however, it was a little different in my contest space, and this is how it happened. I had a club mentor assigned very diligently the day I started my Toastmasters journey, and I started working on my speeches, parts, etc. But when contest happened, the table topic space was something that you've got to use your presence of mind and blend your stories beautifully. So that piece was covered. But in terms of mentoring me, I would say I'm very fortunate in a way, because I had several people do this for me. It wasn't really one dedicated mentor who mentored me throughout the journey, but instead what had happened is, I realized that I am doing contests at a certain tenuity of my journey, and there were individuals who've done contests before. So in that context, I would reach out to them and get some inputs from them. So they would mentor me at different stages of my journey. Say for example, somebody who's done evaluation, people often told me how to structure an evaluation. What are the things you should keep in mind. So I took those inputs from different set of people, where it came to a very seasoned Toastmaster at my club who's witnessed a lot of competitions, including the World Championship of Public Speaking. So I really wanted to understand how that game unfolds. And he would give me just some tips and tricks, not like he's mentoring my speech, but he'd just give me some bite size and tell me, this is something you've got to keep in mind, Aru, when you're contesting. This is a pitfall that most contestants face. So I picked that. So I didn't really have a consistent mentor through my journey, but at different stages of my contest journey, I reached out to people who had that vision, who had that prior experience of what unfolds, and took those inputs from them to understand what works and what doesn't work. Another thing that worked for me, and I encourage people to do it, is, in our head, we are the best storytellers. And I'd love to admit that, right? Ask anybody who can narrate your story the best, they'd say me. But what happens is, sometimes, because we love our stories, right? So when we're writing it and you've written something beautifully, in your head you would think, this is the best part of my speech. But it also needs to land as the best part of your speech. And I feel like when you take feedback, so I would deliver my speeches and just ask people who were there in the audience, who have that experience of being able to judge a speech, knows what will work, to give me some inputs as to what did they feel. and I wouldn't tell them which are the parts that were my favorite. So I just wait to get their genuine opinion. And if they would not profoundly comment that part that I thought is my favorite, I kind of realize it didn't land correctly. Also, very subtle elements in an ISC like global audience, that your message should be something that's global, or some elements in evaluation where top up your recommendations with an example. These are very finer elements. Now might seem easy because I've done several sessions, but back then I wouldn't know so much. So there would be different people who would give me this input. And one thing again, very thankful to Toastmasters in general, is that I must say that in my journey as a contestant, and I feel so grateful, there were so many people who would call me and give me input saying, Aru, heard you won the division, saw what you did, here's some things that you should keep in mind, practice and become amazing. I did not ask them. They would come and tell me this, and that felt so good when you know people care about you. So that's something I'm very thankful for. But that's how my mentoring's been. It's taking the best of all worlds in fragments. If you ask me, is that an ideal approach? I perhaps would say that maybe not. It's good to have a dedicated mentor who can help you throughout, maybe a speech coach, a voice coach. There are a lot of options. So, but in my journey, because it started and then I was going and I had to pick pieces together as I went. It was not planned that, okay, I'm heading for the district championship. I took the best of what I can. What really worked for me is anybody who came and gave me feedback, I heard it all. I might not have implemented it all based on my strength, my situation, but I heard it all. I respectfully took it all in and I made the best out of all those inputs.
Now that you are on the other side of the table and you've won all three types of contests and everybody looks at you as somebody they would want to be, does it happen the other way around? A lot of people would come to you and ask for your recommendation. Is it a lot of pressure, or do you think you are giving it back to the fraternity? What is that entire experience about?
Yeah, firstly, I must say this whole concept of mentoring or giving feedback, giving recommendation is a beautiful thing that Toastmasters has introduced for a lot of us. I come from a corporate background, so we definitely are used to the concept of feedback, but the way it's done here is really nice. There's a genuine sense of helping, but personally to me, I take mentoring very seriously because I feel like if you touch somebody's life, you either do it genuinely and sincerely or you don't do it at all. It cannot be a half-baked cake because you're talking about somebody making their attempt. So do a lot of people ask for feedback? Yes. A lot of times, especially in contests with formats like evaluation and table topics, I'm often asked how do you go about it, how you crack it. I get a lot of scripts of ISC to review and share opinions of, and pressure is true, but I feel like it's also my responsibility. If this fraternity is giving me this platform where I could come in and showcase what I could bring, and I reached the level that I've been fortunate to reach, it is my responsibility that I pay it forward. I'm an individual who's always believed in paying it forward, that I pay it forward and give it back by helping anybody who comes my way. But one thing that I do very diligently, and I would recommend that to anybody who chooses to mentor, is please assess your bandwidth, ensure you set the right expectation. There might be people whose delivery I might not be able to help through as much as I wish to, but I probably can read their script and give them feedback. So I set that expectation that this is what I'm able to do, and I surely will do. And when I commit to that, I make sure I do it 100%. I might not be the best one to give them the feedback. Let's be honest, I'm not a know-it-all. I won once, that's true, but doesn't mean that I know everything. But when I read a script and I give a feedback, I give my genuine opinion. If I tell somebody how the evaluation went, I make sure I'm genuine. I give it my 100%. So I would say, Abhishekta, I am trying my best. I've got a lot more to do.
While we speak about contests, Arundhati, I ask this question on behalf of a lot of us. Do you see a lot of difference between online contests and now that we have now this year moved to completely offline contests?
Yes, there are differences, but I wouldn't say a lot of difference or it's a game changer. This is how I see it. When it comes to your preparation, your groundwork, or your being ready for a contest, it's still the same amount of effort. Because the way I look at it is, when it comes to the content of a contest, it stays the same, irrespective of your format. You've still got to evaluate someone across all categories, whether it's in person or online, right? You still have to speak relevant to your table topic and bring out all the flavor, irrespective of the format. When it comes to your ISC speech, you've still got to bring your best story forward. So the content remains the same, but the delivery is where the formats really make a difference. But I think both has its fair share of preparation and understanding, and this is how I look at it, having of course done contest online, but having done several things offline. For me, offline is easier actually than online, because both have got its own perks. Now, in an offline setup, you've got a huge stage. So when you're thinking of elements like placing characters or doing stage, you've got a big space that you can then work up. But then at the same time, you've got a live audience. So you've got to be mindful of how you will tackle the live audience. Likewise, in an online premise, you are limited to a screen. So every gesture you want to pull out, every emotion you want to emote, it's all through the screen. But then you don't have to really face a live audience. The flip side of it is, when you face a live audience and you talk about something more emotional, more touching, it's much easier when somebody sees you live for them to feel the same. Whereas a screen, it's more like somebody might be doing something at their back end and you say a word and then they are coming back to you. So I think both have got its fair share of challenges and advantages. What's important for us as contestants is that we understand what is the format in which I'm contesting. Like you said, now the districts are 100% in person. So it's very important that you come ahead of your contest, understand the stage, do your checks in terms of your mics, do ensure there are no distractions that are coming your way. So that's how the dynamics shifts. Be prepared to face a live audience. Don't get carried away if somebody in the last row is smiling off. It's possible, right? They are not forced to listen to you. So those are things that you've got to keep in mind. But if we very carefully look at our judges' ballot, delivery is important, but it's not only delivery by a particular format. Irrespective of the format, delivery is important, but your content is primary. So as a contestant, be very mindful of your content, the type of audience you're going to face, and be sure that you're giving back value irrespective of your format. So yes, they are different, but they both require preparation. You've got to be aware and well prepared for whatever format you're competing in.
The more I speak to you, the more I realize that there has been such a lot of preparation behind this. You have judged your audience right, you have written your content, you've taken so much of feedback and mentorship. Now, all of this was for winning that one gold, and you won it. And you were prepared to get all of that love and attention. But was there any tangent to this win that you were not prepared for?
Yeah, I think what I was not prepared for is the world that came after the win. Because when you are contesting that whole year, your focus is contest. You would know this having contested yourself, right? That when we started a club and you win, you know areas up next and you got to prepare for area. You win that area, you know divisions up next and you're preparing for it, and then district. So all through that 1 year, what you're preparing for is to bring your best version to the contest, stand out and win the contest. But when you win the contest, and this I say I was not prepared for what came after the winning, is all the more because it was my first time seeing what a world of contest looks like. And what followed immediately after the contest is the perception, like you very rightly put it across, is people feel now you've nailed that space, so you know the tricks of how to nail that space, and then they are expecting you to do sessions, to give keynote addresses, to come on forums and talk on panels that revolve around contests, all of which is with the intent that you will be able to share something that will be beneficial for somebody else who wants to go through this journey. So that's the expectation, and that's something I was not prepared for, because I was very focused on the contest, and in my head I always thought that the day I either don't qualify, or if I've qualified and won, that's pretty much the end game. But the world that opened up after that was huge. I immediately started getting invites from clubs saying, can you do a session? Because the contest cycle also, Abhishek, you'd agree that by the time we finished ISC in May, you got a couple of months and then the evaluation and table topic
The
is
cycle
starting,
begins
right?
again.
It's just, there's no end to it. So immediately clubs started calling and asking for sessions. And that's when I realized that when you have won as a contestant and you are going into a forum to deliver a session on how to crack a contest, people have immense respect and appreciation for you. They really see you at that level where you can come and tell them something that they can take back. It's a task of huge responsibility. And after delivering my first few keynote sessions, I realized that that takes a lot of work. If I've got to come in and say something that will give 5 takeaways for people to take back and implement, I have to prepare myself and curate my content, have them packaged the right way, respect the 20, 25, 30 minutes that they're giving you, and very importantly, be prepared to answer all the questions that follow after the session. When people ask you, you do whatever, but then, I have tried 5 years, but I still haven't been able to crack, what should I do? These are genuine questions. It's their genuine emotions. You can't discard them. You can't say, oh, I don't know, but it worked. It is a lot of hard work. You've got to be appreciative, mindful, and over time you grow. That's something Toastmasters has immensely helped me to grow as a speaker, as a facilitator, as an education session facilitator. These are things I've taken back from Toastmaster. It's helped me a huge deal in all those fronts, and I'm very thankful. But over time you learn to respect people's time, and you want to give back the best you can.
Contests have been an inspiration for a lot of Toastmasters, and it has been one for me. I remember going till club level, losing, trying again, area losing, division losing, district twice, and lost. And every time it takes an army of friends and well wishers and mentors to tell me restart. And I am sure there are many, many Toastmasters who restart every year. And you being the undefeated one in the first go, but do you have a message for all of us who's looking at you with inspiring eyes?
Yeah, I would say that you said a very powerful word here, which is restart. Look, I would say I've been fortunate that in my Toastmaster contest run, it's been a winning streak and I landed up winning the district contest, but I have lost several times in several places through my life's journey. Several occasions where it would be a loss that would take days of mentally preparing to even come back. I give you an example. I played a national once when I was at the top of, or at the peak of my tennis career, and it was a match where I lost by 2 points after playing for almost 4 hours. So that title would give you the ultimate title that you've been aspiring for as a professional. You fought tooth and nail for 4 hours, and just by 2 points you've lost. And those are not defeats that very easily sink in. So like that, several times in several forums across my professional life, my earlier sports career, I have lost on several occasions. And the only thing I would say is, if we never start, we'll never make it. So we've all got to make a start. Absolutely not undermining that it's extremely difficult, especially when you are very passionate, which is something I see people in Toastmasters oozing out all the time, right? When I saw my contestants, the reason I think I have immense respect and admiration for them is just the passion they bring into the table. I have seen people prepare for contests for 9 months, for 12 months, writing ISC speech several times. So it showcases the passion, the effort that they put in. So when you're so passionate about something and the result doesn't work in your favor, I know how that feeling is, and it's never easy to then say that it's okay, I lost, I'm going to start tomorrow. It doesn't work like that. But the only thing that I've always believed is when you lose and when you are in that zone, when you've probably hit your low, you've got to think that you started this because you believed you can do it, and you still can. So for everybody else who's contested, it might not sound most convincing coming from me, but you got to believe that in life I have lost several times, and I have got to where I've got to the minimum is because I have trusted myself more than anybody else. So I will tell everybody who's making that effort that look into the mirror and always remind yourself that you're amazing. Trust that you're amazing, you're very capable. Remember why you started this, and then make that attempt and go for it full on. And then let's see what the results unfold. And if it doesn't work one more time, go for it again. Because we've got to make that attempt till we succeed. And even if we don't, because there would be things I've done in life where I've tried once, twice, thrice, didn't work out, and maybe I didn't do that, but that whole journey taught me to do something else. Like a very classic example, I didn't land up becoming a professional tennis player. That's not my profession. But there was a time in my journey where if you in my dreams also woke me up and asked, what do you want to become? I'd tell you I become a tennis player. But that journey taught me so much that it made me the person I am. So every attempt you make will make you a better version. It's tough, it's going to be tough, but you've got to pick yourself up, put yourself together, trust yourself, love yourself, and absolutely go for it.
Thank you so much, Arundhati, for giving us this dose of self motivation, happiness, and a lot of your tidbits of how to win and ace the contest. We are so grateful for you for gracing our Baatcheet Beyond Small Talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Pleasure's been all mine, and I must just say, fantastic initiative from District 92. Looking forward to an amazing contest season.
In conversation with the undefeated Arundhati Basu, that was Baatcheet Beyond Small Talk. If you liked our initiative, please do like, share, and subscribe to District 92, where leaders are made.